Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News. This is a time machine edition for January 3rd, 2025. Merawat wasn't available, but we do have the power to use our time machine. And so can you. If you go over to ohmtown.com, you can actually select the year all the way back to 2020 and the month and the day. And I've chosen to go back 24 hours so that we can talk about the news and not impact the future. That's how it works in our butterfly effect kind of existence. We've got 10 articles that we're going to talk about, but first, I am Merawat and I run ohmtown.com, and along with the sentient AI, whose visualizer is right there, we're going to talk about these 10 articles. HMPV 2025. Okay, YouTube is saying that we're not sending enough data. It's okay. How about an oyster recall? Failure to launch JetBlue. 550 horsepower Ferrari goes for a swim. Underwater volcano off of Oregon coast. Oregon? It's Lord of the Rings kind of a thing. Oregon. Anyway, 35,000 pints of Guinness that I wasn't near when it went missing. And NVIDIA at CES 2025, tiny adorable owls, but not superb owls. And because we're not allowed to talk about superb owls. And medieval wall paintings and cold and flu medicine recall. As I always say, everything is powered by ohmtown.com, so go over to ohmtown.com and become a citizen. And now you have to suffer through this. Bam! And now you have to suffer through this. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt. I'm sorry everybody's suffering through that.
Oh. No, we're not suffering through anything. Thank you for coming and co-hosting the Non Sequitur News Show for January 3rd, 2025. Woo! 2025, mother...
Season 4.
Yeah, season 4. Oh my God, I totally... See, we're not really doing the seasons anymore because it's just the year and the day, because that's what we're doing now. But it is the 4th season. This is one of those long-term projects. Wow, I don't know what's going on. It says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. But I don't think that's...
Get on it, YouTube.
Possible. I know. I'm streaming out. Oh, it says that I'm only streaming out at 5,000 kilobits. I don't know what's going on here. I guess we'll see what goes on, but I'm going to re-upload this anyway as the Non Sequitur News Show. Okay, if you want all of today's articles, you can hit !NSN over at the Twitch chat, so go over there and become a citizen. Everything seems to be going on. It's kind of hinky. I don't know. Maybe the weather is impacting the mayoral mansion's output. What? The silence is the sentient AI sending an error message. So,
well, I mean, I'm looking at the podcast, so we need to just get into the first article.
All right. Okay, so the first article is over in Non Sequitur News. HMPV symptoms in China faces new outbreak. So we've gone through COVID. There is a new virus that is on the rise in China. Apparently, symptoms of the virus are similar to that of other respiratory illnesses that are currently circulating throughout the U.S.
Too soon.
Too soon indeed. But they are apparently deemed it's a flu of some kind. Looks similar to, and this isn't this. So there's a video that's not just norovirus, why everyone seems to be sick right now. So China state media has reported a rise in cases of human metapneumonia virus, which is basically like a flu-like virus. Doesn't seem to have the same...
Like virulence?
Well, it's spreading, but it isn't as dangerous. So not as many people are meeting their demise because
it's not the same lethality, I guess.
Lethality, there you go. There's another term for it, but I can't
remember.
There is,
but I can't come up with it.
So Andrew Stanton over at Newsweek.com put the article together, and they, for whatever reason, they've changed their format, and it's become much more apparent to me. And so they try and explain it, kind of like Newsweek explaining why it matters, but context, the matters part is different for different people. So I find this really hard. So there are several.
This is to make it more digestible for people if they're kind of like, and what do I do with this information? Or
yeah,
but I agree.
And why it matters is so succinct, right? So I suppose that this is fine. There are several viruses spreading across the U.S. right now, including norovirus and respiratory illnesses like the flu, coronavirus, and RSV. Coronavirus is a flu. Any respiratory virus is a flu-like virus for the most part. Any viral outbreak poses a public health risk, particularly for children and older people who may also be vulnerable to contracting silliness. I'll be okay.
We can't have that.
Don't contract silliness. So
that would be a good epidemic.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Invasion of the silliness snatchers. So if you are immunocompromised, then any viral attack is going to be dangerous to you. So anyway, take care of yourself, wear a mask, get your flu vaccinations, get all your vaccinations, and trust but verify, and don't give in to crazy bullshit. Anyway.
Okay, so what's kind of alarming is that there are pictures of people wearing masks in China in winter 2024. So they're concerned.
Right. And it's like in Japan and other countries, it actually used to be common sense and courtesy where a person would wear a mask, both if they have a cold and or for their own health. But here in the States, we apparently have demonized this, which is a sociological mechanism that is absolutely batshit crazy, because me wearing a mask does not harm you in any way, shape, or form. Actually shows that I'm not a sociopath.
Might help you.
And might help you, yes. So you know what? Quit being an idiot. So symptoms of HMPV include cough, fever, stuffy or runny nose, sore throat, wheezing, a shortness of breath, rashes. The rashes thing is the thing that kind of throws it over the top of a standard flu or cold, in particular, because you don't typically get a rash from, a pneumonia-like virus. Anyone can fall ill after contracting the virus, but the risk of severe illness is higher for people who are younger than 5 and older than 65, both of which are the edge cases because they are immunocompromised by the very nature of their existence. The virus can also cause complications, and that's just like coronavirus or COVID. And so bronchiolitis, bronchitis, pneumonia, asthma, ear infection. According to the Cleveland Clinic, it's fairly common in children, causing up to 12% respiratory illnesses. Cases are typically fairly mild.
We need to add a button with a based on your last expression.
No, wait. I guess I could make another one that says, oh shit. Yeah, like oh shot. Sorry, oh shot. I don't know. You show me a child that's never heard the word shit, and I'll tell you that they've been living under the stairs of an Amish house, away from humans, even in an Amish house.
But I'm guessing even there.
It's the Harry Potter of,
the cupboard under the stairs, right?
Correct. Yeah. So how HMPV compares to COVID, bronchitis, they say. COVID-19 is typically defined by a dry cough. Those symptoms can vary. HMPV is more common in children. It's not an age that particularly affected by COVID-19. Everybody could have caught COVID, but it's typicality there. So They say bronchitis, which is caused by HMPV, is the inflammation of the bronchial tube lining. Symptoms include thickening mucus, can be short-term or chronic illness, according to the Mayo Clinic. What happened with COVID is that it actually damaged the alveoli, and so long-term, you would be impacted by, and that's what long COVID is. Basically, you're tired forever because you can no longer absorb as much oxygen because your alveoli have been damaged by COVID. This does not apparently do that, but genetic wobble.
Well, but we don't really know, or it could mutate.
Right. So is China going on lockdown for HMPV? Probably not at this point. And they talk about metapneumonia virus in China. They say, let me be this person, Dr. Atul Goel, official for India's Directorate General of Health Services, per Indian news outlet NDTV. Metapneumonia virus is like any other respiratory virus, which causes common cold, and in the very old and very young, it could cause flu-like symptoms. But take that with a grain of salt. Just saying.
It's also interesting because I think there have been higher than normal levels of pneumonia in the United States recently, but they haven't necessarily connected it to HMPV. Or it's a different strain or something.
Wow, I'm dropping so many frames right now. I'm just going to record locally and upload it. Something really wonky is going on, but that's okay. We'll just keep on moving. All right, so everybody take care of yourselves. Get vaccinated, wear a mask. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Oyster recall sparks fourth warning by FDA over norovirus. This is something different than what we just talked about.
Yeah, I didn't even know we could. I didn't know we could have recalls attached to norovirus. I mean, I guess anything is possible, but I think of this as like a human illness.
Right. Well, Amanda Castro put the article together for Newsweek.com, and it says here, norovirus is a highly contagious virus that can cause severe gastrointestinal illness, particularly in the vulnerable populations. Again, anybody that's immunocompromised, which basically accounts for everybody that is young or old or has another illness that might exacerbate the issue. Yeah, it's really weird. I've dropped 73.8% of my frames.
What in the world?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to power through it. So the recall brings attention to ongoing food safety concerns and the importance of strict monitoring, particularly for norovirus cases rising across the country. The recall shell stock oysters were harvested by Ruco shellfish from a portion of the Hammersley Inlet growing area when the FDA warning about these have been distributed beyond Washington and Oregon. Restaurants and retailers in the states are advised to dispose of and or return the product immediately. Restaurants, retailers, consumers should avoid serving or eating these oysters, but hell, you probably should anyway because
they like to filter all kinds of things.
Yeah, nanoplastics and microplastics in particular, as well as anything that's from upstream coming downstream. Norovirus symptoms typically appear 12 to 48 hours after exposure and include all kinds of gastrointestinal distress, and then you recover within 1 to 3 days. Dehydration can occur, particularly in those vulnerable groups. So stay hydrated, homies. So what are people saying about it? Stay hydrated, avoid shellfish for now. And I recommend just avoiding shellfish. Let's keep going. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, the next article is over in the Mobile channel. In a first, feds fine JetBlue for chronically delaying flights. The fine is the first of its kind, but just a drop in the bucket for a company whose revenue was $2.4 billion during the third quarter of 2024.
In a quarter.
So that's revenue. That isn't profit, and that's not net profit. So I assume that this is gross revenue. I haven't looked at their numbers. Todd Feathers over at Gizmodo.com put the article together, and it says between June 2022 and November 2023, DOT determined, and Department of Transportation Here in the United States, that 4 of the airline's common trips were at least 30 minutes late for more than half the time that they were flown over a period of at least 4 consecutive months, a violation of the agency's rules prohibiting airlines from basically dragging you silly ass instead of flying my silly ass to my destination. So the offending flights were between New York City and Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, Fort Lauderdale and Florida, and New York City and Fort Lauderdale. And Fort Lauderdale to Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Did I say something?
You said Florida to Florida, but
Fort
it
Lauderdale
was Florida to Florida, so
to
that was
Orlando.
accurate. It just made me kind of go, what?
Yeah, I thought the third one. I thought I said for the third one, Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Orlando, Florida. So it's It's Florida to Florida.
Right, it works.
If it takes you 30 minutes, if you're delayed 30 minutes to go from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando, just drive. Right? You don't have to worry about your baggage fee either. Well, anyway.
Oh, and your seat fee and your breathing recycled air fee.
And catching the norovirus fee and the HMPV symptoms fee and somebody baking bread next to you fee and anyway, it doesn't really matter what it is. They've been fined. They had revenue of $2.4 billion, but that really does beg the question, what were their profits? And do they really profit? Ooh, I just punched my microphone. Take that, microphone.
Now, what is interesting is that part of this does get paid to consumers.
Right.
So that's probably a good thing. But
$75
are they going to start
each.
doing like advertising that it takes longer than expected so then they don't get fines, or are they just going to go, oh well?
Well, nothing says speed up like costing them money. But maybe they'll speed their ass up considering.
Yeah, but that could be a problem.
You know what? They're going to raise rates and be just as slow, but they're going to try.
I don't want them to try to be too fast.
You don't burn your hand twice on the oven, nor do you speed through Virginia twice.
Yeah, but we don't want them going, oh, we don't have any time for maintenance checks. Let's just go.
Welcome to Bone. The next article is over in the 4 Wheel Tech channel at ohmtown.com. Oxen rescue 550 horsepower Ferrari, California, stranded on beach. I don't know why this is...
Something is missing there.
This is like AI titled. Anyway, oxen, as in a plurality of ox.
When are oxen ever in the news?
Well, in this place, I guess, I don't know. In the olden times, people believed that a horse was twice as powerful as an oxen, which is why horses have been called on to pull everything from plows to carriages for centuries. Now it turns out that a couple of oxen may have actually more oomph. No, oxen have more torque than horsepower. It's a big difference, okay? Oxen can pull a 550 horsepower Ferrari out of a beach because they have more torque. They can just dig in and pull, as opposed to horse, which can go fast, but not straight off the start.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, now it turns out that a couple of oxen may have actually more oomph than 550 horses after 2 of the animals rescued a Ferrari that was stuck in the dirt. Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, wait, what does California have to do? Oh, that's the model of Ferrari.
So it's a Ferrari, California, stranded on a beach. So the driver of the Ferrari, California was charged with reckless driving after they got their supercar stuck in a beach in India. Why is it reckless driving? They're driving on a beach. Who cares? I mean, unless they're driving around people on the beach and got stuck.
Well, maybe they're not. Well, there's another car there, so I don't know. Like, are they allowed to drive on the beach? How did they end up on the beach?
Yeah, I don't know that. So Owen Bellwood over at jalopnik.com put the article together, and there's a video of this. The driver of the two-tone Ferrari California T found themselves in a sticky situation over the festive break when they ventured onto a beach in India in their convertible supercar. The driver reportedly struggled on the loose surface and got the 6-figure Ferrari stuck in the sand. Luckily, it wasn't a field of brush, because it probably would have gone up in smoke like many a car where somebody suffers from way too much hubris. So Revdonda Beach, which is roughly 20 miles south of the city of Mumbai. Video posted online of the incident shows the car struggling to drive out of the sound and passersby attempting to push it free. However, the 550 horsepower supercar needed a little more oomph to come unstuck. I wonder if they were nice or if they charged
They were passing by.
How nice. I hope that the 6-figure supercar driver actually donated to their cause, whatever it might be. Reckless driving carries a fine of up to 5,000 Indian rupees, or $60. It says here in the land of the free, which ironically has a fee of $60 for this. That's the whatchamacallit? The
Author?
No, the exchange rate for 5,000 Indian rupees.
Oh, okay. Got
$60. So it says, still, if you're planning on taking your Ferrari for a picnic on the beach, it's maybe better to take the high-riding Pura Sangue instead of your low-slung supercar, which there's a link to what the
I wonder if that's a car that's popular
Pura
in
is.
India.
Ferrari, it's an SUV, so it says it's ugly. We'll see.
Yeah, but it might not get stuck in the sand.
It won't get stuck in the sand. It's an SUV, probably built for that, driving off-road instead of this. Anyway, more sense than sense.
Well, yes, that is a common affliction.
Let's keep going. Next article is over in the mobile channel over at ohmtown.com. Underwater volcano off of Oregon will erupt this year. Prognosticates scientists. They don't know shit, right?
Well, we heard it here first.
All right. Well, you heard me say a year ago that there was going to be a sentient AI by March. End of March. Yeah, the end of March. That didn't come, but I might be a year late, although there's no evidence that I was wrong. They just didn't announce it. Anyway, underwater. I can't. What was in my water, for crying out loud? Anyway, the axial seamount is going to blow, says the scientist. The only question of when. So Isaac Schultz.
Did you know there were any volcanoes off of Oregon?
I'm going to say yes, because you can't prove me wrong. So Isaac Schultz over at Gizmodo.com put the article together. Scientists first studied the volcano in the late 1970s, which is known to have erupted 3 times in 1998, 2011, 2015. The key piece of data in predicting the volcanic eruption is knowing the degree to which seamount is inflated. You're an inflated seamount. Sign that magma is building up underneath the surface, swelling the structure's above ground features. Are you a swelling seamount, or are you just happy to see me? Anyway, axial's inflation and seismicity are monitored by a network of NSF-funded sensors. I know that you are enjoying those comments, but you're muted so that nobody hears that.
That might be for a reason.
All right. See, I get to interact, and the visualizer doesn't really... Yeah, see, you can't do that either. See, the sentient AI has a cascade of characters, kind of like the Matrix. Y'all get this visualization because that's a better embodiment of the computational power necessary to visualize the speech.
Right, it's going very slow right now. It's speeding up a little bit there.
I'll catch that. Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, in its AGU presentation, the team stated that Axial has reinflated to more than 95% its threshold before the 2015 eruption, a major indicator that the eruption is about to explode onto the scene. What? Anyway, in the 2015 eruption is any indicator the predicted eruption could be accompanied by thousands of earthquakes and a seafloor drop of nearly 8 feet. The seafloor drops because magma is ejected from the swollen volcano into the ocean. Oh, yeah. Once that's done, magma begins to slowly refill the mount, starting the whole process over again.
Why do you think that? I mean, maybe because it keeps growing, but isn't it odd that the recorded eruptions have all been relatively recent?
They've known about it since the 1970s and only seen it happen 20 years after its detection and study. I do think that it's weird, but not weird at the same time, because climate change might be impacting this, right? And
its rate is increasing, which is interesting.
Yeah, so they've detected it. They don't know when prior to the 70s it erupted, but then in 1998 it erupted, and then 20 years later, not even 20 years later, 13 years later it erupted, right? 2008. 13 years later it erupted, and then 4 years later. But now you're talking 2024, so 9 years later. At least. It might be 10 years. So maybe this is a ebb and flow. We don't know what's going to actually happen. Them putting the word out at least allows people to prep for the possible outcome.
It does, and I'm I suspect that the volcano is not going to be the biggest problem, right? It could be a tsunami or significant earthquakes that are close to the coastline, or
Yeah,
at least
correct.
high up, close to the surface.
Yeah, for sure. Let's keep going. The next article is over in the Marble Channel. 35,000 pints of Guinness just vanished in the UK, and it's not even a holiday, and I was never near it. Can't prove anything.
I
Just,
mean, this wasn't just a large celebration.
apparently, late Oktoberfest? I'm not sure. So, just as British pubs are suffering through a nationwide Guinness shortage thanks to renewed popularity among Gen Z drinkers, we find out a truckload of 400 kegs of the world famous Irish Stout was stolen from the Northamptonshire depot. The truckload of 50-liter kegs vanished mid-December. Why do I feel like we might have talked about this
Well,
or
we talked
similar?
about a shortage, but I don't know if we talked about a theft. But I do find it interesting if they're having such a shortage, if somebody is suddenly serving Guinness, that might be a place to start looking.
And it's usually sold at a discounted rate to move it fast, profit fast, and make it all disappear fast so that it's no longer high on the radar. So that Guinness you're drinking over at whatever bar, tavern.
Beers are cheap or something.
Yep. So Louis Prado over at Vice.com put the article together, and it's something that we've seen before with wine and other distilled spirits and alcohol of all types. And the cheese. So they talk about cheese and bread and all kinds of stuff can be acquired. So yeah,
What was
35,000
the odd
pints.
thing that we just saw recently? Wasn't there something else like theft of? Oh, it
Eggs.
was bird eggs. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are much more difficult to fake though. Like, so I don't know. Like cheese was faked, wine was faked, distilled spirits were faked.
Right. If it doesn't hatch, it's probably not a bird egg.
My God, they're selling eggs as kegs of cheese.
Oh, now it's all making sense.
Everything's connected. So all food has gotten more expensive thanks to the post-pandemic lockdown inflation that has affected every country on Earth. As a matter of fact, pre-pandemic, my experience, my research basically showed a per seat on average cost of $20 for eating out at a restaurant.
Oh, in a restaurant. Okay.
Yeah. Now it's $30 per person on average.
I mean, that's a pretty significant uptick.
And this is seated restaurant, not necessarily. It's just on average general dining, not fine dining. That is a whole other animal. But general non-fine dining. Fine dining, you're talking about 100 per person. So the cheese world has been rocked by a series of high-profile heists in recent years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of literal cheddar were stolen in the UK between 2014 and 16. Around $7 million worth of Parmigiano Reggiano. Oh no, I'm going to get in trouble for doing that. Was stolen in Italy, and it's all because cheese is in high demand and prices have skyrocketed. And it's not easy to make Parmigiano Reggiano. All food has gotten more expensive.
It has to be from a certain region.
Yep, and if you try and even discuss the recipe and refer to it as Parmigiano Reggiano, you will get your video taken down and possibly sued, as I saw a YouTuber get busted for describing in great detail how to create a home version of the cheese. I don't think it was Parmigiano Reggiano.
Wow. But like a copy, essentially.
A version of a very local, hyper localized version of cheese. And they got busted for it. Well, they got slapped pretty hard. It wasn't just their hand slapped either. I think they got an uppercut to the chin, right? Anyway, thieves are raking it in. So Diageo, the maker of Guinness, has declined to comment on the theft, and the truck's current whereabouts are unknown. But somebody's drunk off their ass.
Well, and I wonder if the truck itself, I mean, was the truck stolen or just the kegs?
Just put a damn tracking beacon on. There's Apple trackers. Just put them on the kegs.
Well, maybe the company is tracking them, but they don't want to announce. I mean, who knows?
Well, this was stolen in December. Come on.
Yeah, they should have recovered it by now.
Yeah. So the stolen kegs will likely be secretly sold to pubs all over England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, maybe even beyond, to meet demand and take advantage of scarcity. What they need to do is just put a little tracker in there in every single keg, and it's, you can make them, put them inside a waterproof thing. I mean, a tilt inside a fermenter can stay in there until the battery runs dry. So why not just put an Apple beacon in there? Nobody's going to, because you would have to crack open the keg to get the tracker out. And to do that would oxidize all the beer in your scroot. And it's Guinness. So you're talking about the possibility of nitrogen backfilled. So anyway, let's keep going. So the next article is over in WarCrafters. NVIDIA is giving away 5 classic Jensen signed GeForce cards for the if you tweet to build hype for its CES 2025 briefing, and its first choice is almost older than the author of this article. It's from PC Gamer. I'm just going to jump straight down into the article if you don't mind. James Bentley put the article together for PCGamer.com, and the deck statement says, sorry, for making you feel ancient.
Are these really old cards, or is the author really young?
Both. So, tweeted out on January 1st, 5 days before CES briefing on January 6th, NVIDIA announced that there would be 5 classic cards up for grabs, starting with the GeForce 256, which NVIDIA considers to be the first GPU in the world. First released on October 11th, 1999, it was manufactured by TSMC, who still work with NVIDIA to this day on a 220 nanometer CMOS process. We're down to like 4 nanometers now. We're getting so close.
Oh, I see.
To the distance between circuit. My brain just, I can't remember what it's called, like leads, right? So the lines conducting gates, electrons through the gates. I can't remember what it's called right now off the top of my head. Anyway, oh God, my brain's working so hard right now. And it was 220 nanometers. So they say in the next paragraph, they're down to 5 nanometers, but 4 is actually what is estimated to be for the new NVIDIA 50 series, which is right around the corner.
So this has come a long way in their history.
Correct. Yeah. And TSMC is basically world renowned for this. And the U.S. has actually pulled TSMC equipment into the United States, offered them great grants, federal grants, and so on. So that there is a continuity of technology should something happen with the Taiwanese company, and we've even talked about the fact that they have kill switches, remote destruction switches, in their manufacturing plants, just in case, I don't know.
Geopolitical events.
There you go. The sentient AI comes through once again to fix whatever hot water I was about to dunk my head into. So following up on this is the GeForce 8800 Ultra, which also won by commenting the same hashtag on the announcement tweet, which is once again signed and is the first CUDA GPU written in the frame. The 8800 Ultra was NVIDIA's first unified shader GPU, which cemented NVIDIA as a good choice for those looking to edit large amounts of data or work with graphics and designs. There's a lot more in this article, but essentially they're giving away some cards. I think they already gave them all away. And CES is happening, I think it starts on Monday.
Well, it looks like, yeah, the keynote will be on Monday.
So the keynote from NVIDIA will start at 6:30 p.m. Pacific on January 6th, and you can watch it on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I'm going to dead name that until the cows come home. And more on that day. However, if you don't fancy watching the full show, the PC Gamer hardware team will be going over all of the best announcements on that day and the following week. So follow this link and you can read more about all of this and more over at PCGamer.com. We don't have a relationship. We just aggregate a small snippet. Just to be abundantly clear, this is all that is provided by PC Gamer, and we link directly to the source. I prefer giving credit to the providers of the information. So let's keep on going, though. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Are you going to be watching CES, or are you going to be off trying to find
I think I'll catch the highlights in Hometown.
Gotcha. Thanks for that messaging, by the way. You too, out there. Anybody who's within earshot. Whenever I do that, I feel like I'm Kermit the Frog. Or a Beaker from the Muppets, too.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, well, anyway. Meet the tiny, adorable owls that have mastered the art of hiding. One of the smallest owls in North America, the northern saw-whet, I suppose.
I bet that's named after its coal.
Saw-whet. Lives among us and is rarely seen. Also known as Gen Z. No, just kidding.
Oh, I thought it was like the
oh boy,
the villain in Among Us. The game?
Yeah. Oh, rarely
seen. Imposter?
The imposter? Yeah. One volunteer science project aims to find them and uncover their secrets year after year. So that's what it looks like. Kayla Randall over at SmithsonianMag.com or Smithsonian Magazine. Okay, I just have to say, have you ever seen an owl's legs?
Oh, they are unbelievable.
They look like they have these stubby little legs, but no, they have calves and thighs, and they're actually quite long.
They have tall legs for their bodies, but you would not know it based on their feathers.
No, you have to kind of stretch them out. They will stretch them out in a hurry, like if they have to run because they can't fly somewhere. But I've always thought
they look like ostriches or emus when they're running.
Look how tiny. This thing is like 5 inches tall. So during the fall in Edgewater, Maryland, a small group of volunteers helped catch these ban these little owls from sunset to midnight. They're participating in Project Owlnet, the Fighting Nets, an initiative that seeks to learn more about these birds and their migration, and that supports an ever-expanding network of migrant owl banding stations. So the group uses an audio lure to entice the birds, capturing them in mist nets to bring back to the banding station. Once there, they place aluminum bands on the birds, friendship bracelets for science, as they're called within the project. Project participants also measure the owl's bills, wings, tails. They use a black light to look at the underside of the owl's wings and see their molt pattern, which helps determine their ages, a difficult task. Old feathers don't glow as brightly under the light because the pigment has faded. That's interesting.
That is fascinating. You wouldn't think it would glow at all.
So is this an old fart or is this young? Let's see. They don't say. So we definitely get beak snapping at times. Boyle Akudi says, though most of the time they're fairly docile, she adds. Their usual behavior is to sit and look camouflage after all. I feel like there are times during migration especially, it seems some of them are like, hey, I got places to go. I don't have time for this. But I might be more anthropomorphizing them. You definitely are, because they're not saying anything in their heads other than, oh, shit.
No, but that's one of the things about conservation is getting people interested in the animals.
Yeah, and almost humanizing them, giving them a personality that you can actually attach to. Not that they are killing machines. But hey, they kind of are.
That owl looks too cute to be that.
He looks slightly, or they, whatever they are, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl or whatever, looks kind of annoyed, right? Like, the hell are you touching me?
I'm sure it's like, hey, wait a second here. I was trying to whatever, eat a mouse or whatever I was doing.
You did not ask me. Did you get consent? No. Look, that one looks irritated too. Oh, God, somebody's taking my picture again.
Would you please get my other side?
Yeah, I look fat in this angle. So they nest and summer up in the boreal forest in Canada, she says. She being, I don't know. Is there a name up there?
Is it Boyle a cootie?
Yeah, it must be the same person. They nest and summer up in the boreal forests of Canada. Those areas people can't get to very easily, so that's why the fall migration studies are really important to know what's happening with the population of owls. So they fly down for Christmas bird counts. Owls may be found down in the southern range, possibly showing up at stations in Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, and they go pretty far south in numbers. The more that we do with Project OwlNet, the more we learn about their migrations. So pretty cool. Oh my God, they're tiny.
Oh my goodness. For those in the podcast, the owl's head is like as big as its body or bigger.
Yeah, I think the owl's
The
head
wingspan is way bigger than its head and body.
Yeah, but it's maybe 5 feet tall from stem to stern. 5 feet, 5 inches tall from stem to stern. 5 feet. Dear God, it's a pterodactyl.
It almost looks like a stuffed animal or something because it's so tiny. Like when you think of a regular owl, they're much larger than that.
Here it is being held by a human, and the owl is thinking, I am going to consume your soul. Let's keep moving. Next article is over in Prime Glass, which is a seldom seen source of news. But it's about photography, equipment, technique, technology, etc. People, places, things. So medieval wall paintings hidden in a French cathedral revealed in digital imagery. UK conservators knit together thousands of pictures taken at Angers, Angers. It might be Angers. Cathedral of Saint Muriel. And then they got a typo, paintings. So the article is by Maeve Kennedy over at theartnewspaper.com. And yeah.
Which always has interesting articles when we do feature them.
Correct. So they've got a picture here of a mural, but it says medieval wall paintings considered the finest of their type, surviving from late 13th century France with close style links to the court of Henry III have been revealed in all their multicolored splendor for the first time in more than 500 years. The walls are still, however, concealed behind paneling in the Cathedral of Angers in western France.
Could you scroll back up to the photo? I mean, isn't that very brightly colored?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's got a bright red, bright green, gold, orange background. It shows like a meal on a table with fish and bread and what looks like baguettes, little tiny baguettes there. I don't know exactly what that is. I'm not sure if this was truncated, like painted over at some point. It looks like there's half of
sure
something.
It looks like it, yeah.
Unless it's a stromboli, for crying out loud. It looks like it was painted over.
Well, it's missing the edge, right? Like,
yeah.
If you see the other one, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, like this one, right? You'd think that it was like that, but it looks like it was partially painted over. It's interesting. But yeah, you can actually see, and I mean, perspective-wise, you're kind of like, what the hell? But it shows a tablecloth, a white tablecloth, and it's still brilliantly white. But this is what happens when you conserve, right? You don't allow people to come in and mess around with it. You can't protect it really without sealing it and on the other side protecting it from intrusion of moisture and air. And as long as it's protected, then so you take pictures. and you try and take it with as much correct light as possible. That way, it's the best representation. This is why I like technology to document everything possible, because there are sometimes people with an interest, political, financial, whatever, and they don't want you to see this because it might represent something in a different light that they don't want seen. And I think that is a crime against humanity. Just like the destruction of anything historical is a crime against humanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they've got this still behind basically a curtain, and a team of UK-based art historians and conservators have worked for, it says has worked for a decade. Has worked?
Yeah, that's because the team. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. On creating the first full-color image of the paintings of the life and miracles of Saint Muriel, or Morel, a 5th century bishop of Angers whose relics were once held in a silver shrine in the cathedral, and the image was created by digitally stitching together